Good evening, everyone, or good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you for joining us today. Apologies for my raspy voice. I'm getting over a very untimely sore throat, but let me introduce kind of myself and everyone here. I'm Gil, president of the Stanford Blockchain Accelerator. We're the first and only crypto native accelerator at Stanford. Quick background on me. I've been in the distributed compute space for nearly 20 years, built and sold a couple of companies. It was GSB 2016, Public Policy 2023, and I've been in the blockchain space since 2016, where I've been both inspired by its potential and frustrated by, well, a lot. But it's exciting to be in a place here with the accelerator and at Stanford where I can support blockchain founders really driving the sector forward. The accelerator itself is part of the Stanford Blockchain Club. It's a student group. And the accelerator is run by a combination of an alumni board, as well as current students who support all of its operations. We incubate 10 to 12 Stanford student or alumni teams in each cohort over a 5-month time period, and we help them in every aspect building transformational blockchain ventures, from need validation, product strategy, finding product market fit, tokenomics, cryptography, to fundraising, go-to-market, hiring. We've helped 36 teams to date. They've raised over 80 million between them from every top fund, many of whom are in the audience today: Andreessen, Sequoia, Paradigm, Dragonfly, Gumi, 7X, and more. But more importantly, the stat I love is that 60% of our teams launch into post revenue within 6 months of starting our program. And that's a sign that they're building real products, meeting real needs. Our mission is to incubate ventures driving blockchain adoption and overcoming the frictions to enable performance, scalable, usable, and interoperable blockchain applications. But we're also really grateful to have built a close-knit community of blockchain founders. Our teams and our alumni help each other, and we have nearly 40 alumni teams to date. We're wrapping up our third cohort now, and they're the ones that are going to be presenting today. We've also brought a few of our alumni back who've gone on to scale tremendously, and they're going to share some of their updates also. And lastly, and most importantly, if you're a founder or aspiring blockchain founder and someone on your founding team is a Stanford student or alum, we urge you to apply to our cohort 3. The application link is shared in the chat. I'll share it again. It's a fun time, and we help you go from kind of validated idea to launch. So please urge you to apply and join us. It's going to start. Applications are due at the end of the month, and then we'll kick things off in mid-June. Before I get started, I just want to introduce the others on the leadership team here. Kun Peng, who founded the accelerator, and then Stephen Willinger, who's been invaluable in helping us build out our program. Kun, why don't you give a quick, give a brief intro?
Sounds good. Thank you, Gil. So hi everyone. I'm Kun Peng, founder of the Stanford Blockchain Accelerator program, and also an instructor of CE 246A Web3 entrepreneurship course at Stanford. So I've been in the blockchain space since 2017, where I have played multiple roles, like a developer, product manager, marketing lead, founder, operator, and advisor. So I helped incubate and advise over 40 well-funded blockchain startups. Now, over the summer of 2021, while at Stanford, I realized there are many startup courses and accelerators, incubators here, but there was no like crypto-focused founder community. So in early 2022, I founded the Stanford Blockchain Accelerator program as a crypto-native Web3 founder community at Stanford. So then Gil came on board as a mentor and then took on leadership with me. And as he mentioned, is now growing into a really mature program that has launched nearly 40 Web3 startups. So the accelerator helps take teams from ideas to launch. I also wanted to give students more exposure to Web3. So I started an effort in the summer of 2022 and worked with the leadership team at Stanford Blockchain Club. And we started a course on Web3 entrepreneurship. And we launched in the fall and had over 320 students enrolled in the fall quarter and the winter quarter. We got some of the best thought leaders, researchers, and professors in the space to share with Stanford students on their perspectives on this amazing technology, where the best opportunities are for Web3 startups, and why they think blockchain is such a transformational technology. With that being said, I'll pass on the mic to Stephen.
Awesome, thanks, Kuhn. Yeah, quickly here. Hi, Stephen, new guy in the leadership team. I joined in the middle of the current cohort. Prior to this, I worked at Coinbase Ventures, where I led the venture practice. Prior to that, I was at Capital One Ventures. And before that, at Google. I'm also a GSB alum who got the crypto bug around 2016 and spent almost all my time in grad school either taking crypto OCS courses or working at early crypto companies or trading trash tokens on Poloniex. I've been a mentor in the program for some time, but I've recently gotten a lot more involved. Part of the reason I did that is because I've been super impressed with the programming that Gil and Kuhn have built, as well as as you meet these teams, they're just awesome founders and it's a joy to work with them. So yeah, I'm really excited for them to share with you all what they've been working on. For the founders on the call today who are not already alumni or participants in the program, please do reach out and talk to us and consider applying. I'm super excited to do this all over again with the next batch. Sweet, so that's me. I'll pass it back to Kuhn to introduce the first chunk of teams.
Awesome, thank you, Stephen. So our first three teams are in the ZK infra and application space. So the ZK vertical is actually a very interesting vertical and has received a lot of attention within the crypto space. So I believe there's a lot of applications and things you can build on top of the infra, but also the infra itself. And then the infra and application will leverage the ZK technology for scalability, privacy, and many other potential use cases. And this can bring the Web3 technology and adoption to the next level. That being said, I'll pass on the mic to the first team, Hinkal protocol, working on a compliant privacy SDK for on-chain assets and transactions. That being said, I'm going to promote Georgie to co-host so you can share screen and start presenting.
Thanks, Don. I'm Georgie, CEO of Hinkal Protocol. Now I'll share my screen. So Hinkal provides embedded and compliant privacy for on-chain assets and transactions. And we believe that widespread adoption of blockchain depends on frictionless and compliant privacy layer. For individuals, we provide private transfer, swap, staking, lending, borrowing, and liquidity provision. For institutional investors, we provide same services so they can shield their assets and no one can see how much they have, but also they can transact and being anonymous. And for enterprises, it's mostly private payroll and B2B payments, private payments in stablecoins. Now I'll share the demo of our initial product that we have built. We are live on Polygon. We just launched a couple of days ago. Yeah, so I connect my wallet. Okay, we have added additional security layer, so we are skipping this for now. And we see that on my wallet, corporate wallet, I have 10 Matic. So I'll deposit Matic, and then we'll make sure that there is no traceability of the asset. My wallet is already KYC. We're also accepting BNB chain tokens, as well as Galaxy Passport, and later all other KYC protocols that you have imagined. Okay, the deposit is ongoing. Okay, confirm the transaction. And by the way, our protocol current version also enables transfer, private transfer, fully shielded, hashes appear on chain, as well as swap. Okay, 3 Matic was deposited, and now I see on my shielded balance that I have 5 Matic, so 3 added, and this shielded balance is the balance and is the account that only I know, but also I can share this account with other people, and they can transfer privately assets to me. Now let's do the swap. So I take Matic. Let's swap Matic to USDT. All right. And what is happening now is Relay are taking funds, swapping on Uniswap and putting back to my shielded address. So only a Relay address appear on chain, and then just smart contract as an interaction. By the way, history of Hinkal is that, oh, sorry, we have Relay issue. Let's try it again. Hinkal is a Georgian dumpling, and the idea is that it has several types of meat inside, and you never know what is inside. Okay, I swapped Matic to USDT, and now I can withdraw USDT to my new wallet. Okay, I have another wallet. Let's copy here. We are using Relay to make sure there is no traceability. It will take some time. Okay, it seems that there's congestion on the network. All right, I think, oh yeah, I have successfully withdrawn. Now I can see transaction details. And yeah, it takes some time for Polygon stand to update, but basically there's no link with my initial wallet. And then, we swap privately and then we withdraw. So basic idea here that we are pursuing B2B and B2C strategy. So we are integrating now with 2 DEXs and 1 MPC wallet. So we enable privacy for our partners, but we also have consumer side. What we provide is different setups. It's private to private, so both sides shielded, public to private, and private to public. For example, for the wallet, we provide private to public because they want to make sure that when they pay salaries, sender is shielded, so no one can understand who paid the salaries and amounts. On the regulation side, we require access token that user can mint in different protocols. The major ones are Binance and Coinbase, and what is required, the user just confirms that they have account, then they're allowed to mint. So Base is launching similar things with Binance, so the friction will be removed and many users will have tokens by default. Our current integration partners are Odos, it's one of the biggest DEX aggregators, and also investor in Hinkal. Meson is cross-chain stablecoins protocol, and MPC Wallet is MPC Wallet for teams. We are currently in Binance MVB Accelerator winter cohort. On the team side, I spent most of my life in finance. I was twice world champion in wrestling, and I'm creator of one of the biggest communities at Stanford Silicon Valley Icons. We have my brother Nika is CTO. He spent most of his life building apps and being software engineer. And we have 3 advisors: Mandeep Walia, Chief Compliance Officer at Circle. Lukai helps us with zero knowledge and cryptography. He is Chief Cryptographer for Graph Protocol and founder of Odostex. And Garth Rhodes, our legal advisor. And we just fundraised. We have great investors in the cap table, and we are looking for integration partners, DEX, wallets, lending, staking protocols, and local engineers because we are hiring. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Georgi, for the awesome demo. So the next we have Modulus Labs, which is a startup we incubated working on ZKML. That being said, I'm going to promote Daniel. Thank you for using your hand to co-host.
Awesome. Cool. I think I'm able to share my screen now. Good.
Yes, we can see your screen now.
Okay, awesome. You know, this we only have 6 minutes, so I'm gonna do the shorter one here, and you'll have to excuse me if I'm a little unfamiliar with these slides. It's been a while since I've seen them, but hi everybody. We're Modulus Labs. I'm Daniel, and we're working on Trustless AI using zero knowledge proofs. Super psyched to be with everyone here today. Yes, we're in an inflection. This is super obvious to all of you. Probably AI is like the hottest stuff right now. But kind of the part that's maybe more relevant to us is when you come on chain, all the AI features that currently exist anyways have to be centralized, right? So more specifically, what this means is imagine something like Uniswap, right? A trustless on-chain service. If they ever wanted something like AI features, they would have to introduce FTX-like vulnerabilities around centralization. So that's really bad. Now, the reason for this is very straightforward. It's just really expensive. So as kind of an anchoring point, let's say you wanted to run a single model of about 5 million parameters a single time, right? On Ethereum mainnet, that would cost tens of thousands of dollars. So definitely not super permissive from the get-go. Now, to get that cost down, you can either go to a general rollup, so one of the kind of exciting L2s that's coming online now, or untether yourself from the chain entirely, at which point the security properties are a little more tenuous. So that 5 million parameter model is actually currently running on chain on Ethereum, executing autonomously, and it's costing less than $1 for a single inference, thanks to Modulus. Now, the way we're doing this is with a specialized zero knowledge prover built from the ground up for AI computations. Imagine using a powerful GPU for parallel proving versus a generalist CPU that kind of represents the paradigm of today. That's how we're able to get that cost down by so much. So this specialized AI prover is kind of the way we imagine tackling both bringing inexpensive AI to smart contracts while still maintaining the security of the blockchain, right? So no compromises here. I forgot what this is. Oh, yes. This is a real quote from Vitalik, which is pretty exciting about kind of what we're working on. But you know, we're kind of in a really exciting place right now. We just signed our first 6-figure contract. And we're also working with partners like WorldCoin as well as AI Arena on getting to market by the end of the year. That is the co-founding team. You can probably spot me for the eagle-eyed amongst you. And we're also joined, of course, by an excellent team of advisors. But the 3 of us, anyways, we've known each other for, I think, collectively over a decade. Stanford undergrad, Stanford grad, AI research, all the usual stuff. You see the accolades. It's like the classic Silicon Valley startup story. Yeah, and we're actually actively raising our seed round. So, you know, super keen on talking to investors who might be curious about the space, or, you know, obviously super jazzed about ZKML and all the opportunities here. And as well as, you know, any use cases or BD connections that y'all might have, we are very keen on being connected. Cool. That was kind of a short presentation. I hope that's okay, and I didn't offend Kuhn or Gil here. You know, feel free to reach out to me on all the social medias. I'm online.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel, for the short, concise, but powerful presentation.
That's what I'm all about, Kuhn. Okay, you taught me that. Hey, since I have a little bit of extra time, huge shout out to Gil, Kuhn, and Steven. They're the best. Just great human beings and excellent mentors. All right, I'm out.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Cool. Awesome. So next we have Ironmill, and is doing like zkOps, building hardware software tools to help build ZK from prototype to market. That being said, I'm going to promote Aaron. Can you raise your hand again, Aaron, so I can promote you? Yeah, thank you. Then make you a co-host. The floor is yours.
All right, let me get the screen share going. All right, can everyone see this? Yes, awesome. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Aaron Greenblatt from Ironmill. Before we start, Gil, Kuhn, Steven, I want to thank you for hosting today's event. It's been amazing to see how much progress the Stanford Blockchain Accelerator portfolio companies have made over just the last few months. Oops. Okay, so now let's talk about Ironmill. First, some background on myself. I've been an entrepreneur since I was a teenager, always starting companies in the IT and information processing space. I received an EE PhD from Stanford in 2015. And my research area was quaternion neural networks, a part of machine learning. After grad school, I spent a year leading machine learning efforts at a hedge fund, and then came back to Silicon Valley to form a startup. My last company worked closely with the US Air Force and on a cybersecurity product, and then our team switched into the Web3 space about 2 years ago. Before diving into Ironmill, I want to talk about zero-knowledge proofs. As many of you know, there have been a lot of exciting theoretical advancements in ZK over the last few years. We think that ZK is going to enable a new generation of privacy-preserving application protocols, both for blockchain and for Web 2 systems. One way to reason about ZK is that it's a form of verifiable computing. Like other verifiable computing techniques, ZK proofs can entail significant computational overhead. Now, today, zero-knowledge developer tooling reminds me a lot of the Theano software library for machine learning back in grad school. Then, like now, we had this promising new research direction, and the software tools were set up for researchers and enabled lots of interesting experiments. However, going from research to production required a shift in tooling from experimental to computational at scale. After several years, Google eventually delivered that in the form of TensorFlow combined with Kubernetes. At Ironmill, we're building production-grade tooling for zero-knowledge. We call this zkOps. We combine high-performance, hardware-based zero-knowledge compute backends with powerful integrated developer tooling to build from prototype to market. Our product adds a DevOps layer to ZK, all without requiring developers to have a CI/CD team. Let me walk you through the typical elements of a ZK app. We've split this architecture into layers. At the top, you have the application layer, which is where the user interacts with your app. That includes Web 2 services, wallets, and smart contracts. In the Web 3 tooling layer, you have all the other infrastructure that your app calls: chains, oracles, bridges, any other dependencies. Next, for a ZK app, there's a supporting layer of ZK software, such as ArcWorks, Circom, and other tools and languages. These ZK tools, of course, need to perform computation, leading us to a network I/O layer that finally leads us to the actual physical processing infrastructure. Now, before moving on, I want to emphasize that ZK libraries are only one layer in this stack, and that it takes a much larger supporting architecture to build global scale ZK applications. At Ironmill, we're building that global scale deployment infrastructure. It's like Ansible, but for Web3. Users can spec out the full deployment stack in code, check the code into source control, and then deploy directly from Visual Studio Code. Once that's done, users can auto-scale their ZK deployment. Our data center partner is running 4,000 FPGAs in East Canton, Ohio, and can flex these computational workloads up and down in a matter of minutes. Here's a partial list of our partners and investors. We have several additional announcements in the pipeline. We're working with some of the most influential teams in both Web 2 and Web 3, including the folks who built Kubernetes at Google and who have deep expertise in infrastructure. To wrap up, we're currently hiring for engineering roles, especially Web 3 developers, cryptographers, and Web 2 DevOps engineers. We recently closed a funding round with several investors, and we expect to raise another round of capital later this year after receiving additional developer feedback on our closed alpha. We'd love to stay in touch with all of you, and we're especially interested in talking about end-to-end ZK use cases like AI, for example. Gil, Kun, Stephen, anybody else who's here from the Blockchain Club, thank you for organizing today's demo day. And thank you for all your work on the Stanford Blockchain Accelerator. For anybody who's considering applying to the accelerator, I'd highly, highly encourage it. We've really enjoyed our experience there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Aaron. I really enjoyed working with you as well. Next, we've got a couple of exciting DeFi teams that are tackling cross-chain interoperability, mitigating misaligned MEV, and both of which are critical for a thriving DeFi ecosystem. So we're going to start with Rachin from Sedro. And Rachin, why don't you take it away? I think you have to unmute yourself, Rachin. And Kun is there you go.
I was finally able to. Okay. Thank you so much, Gil. Yeah, let me share my screen. So, yep. So hi, everyone. Rachin. And today I'll be presenting Sedro Finance, a bridgeless, secure, and performant omnichain liquidity platform. Right now, in DeFi, we have multiple chains with multiple applications deployed on each of them. However, the problem is that users from one chain cannot access the liquidity of another application on a different chain. This is equivalent in real life to like non-existence of cross-country trade. And this would be like devastating for the global economy. And this in DeFi, this means that this is a big barrier for cross-chain liquidity flow between chains, and a big barrier for maximal capital efficiency. For users, this means it will give them lower yields and a complicated user experience. And to add to my previous point, we have a significant portion of DeFi's TVL locked inside bridges, despite its horrible user experience. This shows that there is a big demand for cross-chain liquidity flow. Right now, you're able to perform cross-chain transactions, but its state is miserable. For example, if you want to lend ETH and borrow AVAX, right now you'd have to take your ETH on Ethereum, send it to a bridge, wrap it, and go to Avalanche, redeem the wrapped version of that asset, find a market for that, deposit it there, and then take the loan out. This poses a few problems, including horrible user experience, because you have to go through multiple applications, which can be extremely costly as well. And you'd have to be bridge dependent as well, right? And at the same time, like a bridge dependent, because it is extremely dangerous, as we've seen in the past. And it is very hard for users to find deep liquidity pool for wrapped assets, because we have multiple versions of wrapped asset for a single asset. And this type of transaction, this type of pattern is not only seen in cross-chain lending and borrowing, but it also seen across all types of major transaction types. And we are here to exactly solve that. Users in Sedro are able to lend, borrow, and transport their liquidity across chains within a few clicks and within a single UI. And we'll also support omnichain yield aggregation and omnichain swap in the future. And one of the major features that we have is the concept of unified liquidity pools. So right now for multi-chain assets like USDC, USDT, even though they are the same assets, they're deployed on multiple chains, but their liquidity pools are not connected to each other. This fractures the liquidity of these assets. And in Sedro, we are merging the liquidity pool of these assets and providing the deepest liquidity pool possible for these kind of assets. And so like, regardless of where you deposit your multi-chain asset from, you'll be receiving the same yield regardless. And at the same time, you'll be able to lend from one chain and borrow, and you'll be able to withdraw it to any of the other chains that we support. This will also help us, this will also help users transport their liquidity from one chain to the other, enabling more user onboarding onto the platform. And this is the architecture that makes the seamless user experience possible. In a nutshell, there are like three major components to this architecture: root, branch, and message passing protocols. So root is the brain of the protocol that is deployed in a single chain, and branch is deployed on all the chains that we support, which acts as a liquidity storage contract, and root and branch, they interact with each other using a message passing protocol. And instead of relying on a single message passing protocol, we are also creating a subproduct, which is an aggregator for cross-chain message passing protocols. And so like, instead of like just using one message passing protocol, we choose the best message passing protocol for a given transaction based on users' preference for speed and cost. And this itself can be provided as a service to other protocols who wants to go cross-chain. And we've been on testnet for a while, and we've processed more than 265,000 transactions, and which is a significant portion of Layer Zero's total testnet volume. And we also have a decent hold on our community social channels. By nature, because we support multiple primitive financial transaction types, we are highly composable by nature. And so that means builders are able to build multiple applications on top of us, which can also be a huge source of volume for us. And talking about our go-to-market strategy, we have liquidity mining incentives to bootstrap the initial liquidity, partnerships with multiple protocols, L1s and L2s, and community building, which we've been doing nicely so far, and supporting long-tail assets in isolation mode, and conducting hackathons to encourage more builders on top of us. And we generate revenue through our protocol fees and ecosystem products. Talking about our roadmap, we have so far, we're almost done with our development works, currently going through audits, and we plan to go on mainnet by late Q2 or early Q3. And talking about our competition, we have three major kinds of competition. Applications like Aave, which is a single chain lending and borrowing application, which has its own constraints. Radiant, which is a middleman between single chain lending and borrowing and multi-chain lending and borrowing. So that has its own constraints as well. And applications like Prime Protocol, which is a truly cross-chain lending and borrowing application. But as I said, we are not only a lending and borrowing protocol, we are more than that. So we are more composable by nature. Happy to go more into this in detail later. And this is the team. I'm one of the three co-founders of a well-rounded team of 7 people. That was it about the presentation. Thank you so much for listening. We're currently actively raising seed round. If you're interested, or if you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up in any of these channels. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rachin. Exciting and highly relevant and necessary. Next, we've got Divyesh, who's building Kairos. And Kairos is basically building smart order types to safeguard against in decentralized trading and help mitigate a whole bunch of things such as front running, etc. But I'll let Divyesh give you guys more detail. Divyesh, over to you.
Yeah. Okay, let me just share my screen quickly. There. Okay, awesome. So Kairos is building upon some research that combines frequent batch auctions, which is fair transaction ordering on blockchains, with flow trading, which is a way of timing out your trades, kind of like time-weighted average price. So I guess kind of like going over the mission, there's a lot of issues in markets, especially on Ethereum. There's a lot of debates we see on like proposer builder separation and other such things. Specifically, a lot of front running, especially due to the nature of the blockchain, specifically with minor extractable value, et cetera. And so these kinds of DeFi specific issues do hurt consumers, and it also makes the process very hard to understand for early consumers entering decentralized finance trading. And of course, the main thing happening right now is trading on DeFi. So DEXs, we do have strong conviction that DEXs are the future, but there's a lot of issues with the current structure of DEXs. So on AMMs, we do suffer from impermanent loss, even though they are good places to bootstrap liquidity. Obviously, I talk about MEV, toxic front running, and then also network downtime on some of the faster blockchains too. And so there's a lot of costs that end up adding up, and especially volatility when you need markets to perform more reliantly, you have even worse issues such as spamming of networks, and then also lots of impermanent loss, and protocols like Bancor even pausing impermanent loss protection during volatile periods. And so Kairos is essentially a proposal for creating a batch auction based DEX, and as well as essentially time weighted average price. And so that's basically ensuring users get a certain price and making the process as transparent and fair as possible. And so I guess we'll go into the flow order, which is essentially you have a range of prices that you order in, and basically you say, okay, I want to buy this asset between this price, and then it automatically splits your order, and then guarantees execution within a price range over time, and we automatically optimize that for you. And then we have transaction batching, which instead of having an ordered transactions on the blockchain, we essentially within every block guarantee that every user transacting for the same asset, say you're buying ETH, you would get the same price as another user buying ETH in the same block as you. And that means that there's no purpose of transaction reordering and such attacks like that in our DEX. And so this helps a lot with fixing a lot of the issues in the DeFi world, specifically with MEV. And there's also a lot of studies that show that batch auctions do help market makers specifically react better to volatile periods, because they have time periods where they can remove orders before they have to deal with like bots, etc. So the products that we're planning on releasing are spot trading with perpetuals and margin trading. So we do see a lot of user benefits, especially because of the transparent nature and fairness, especially solving a lot of blockchain-based issues. And so we do have, a token that is pretty standard token fee, where token holders can vote on fees, distribution, introduction of pairs, order types, and we're planning on launching this in Q1 2024. And so the journey so far is we've been accepted for a $30K grant from the Aptos Foundation to deploy the technology on their blockchain. And we work with CowSwap to understand the batch auction mechanisms on Ethereum and understand their current bottlenecks there. So in the short term, we plan to launch a spot trading beta by end of Q4 2023, and then from there have a quarterly release schedule. And so long term, we want to basically grow with the DeFi ecosystem, and especially with a lot of the ideas about tokenization of assets. We think that introducing safer and more transparent and fair systems of trading on decentralized trading infrastructure is necessary to get users and as well as ensure safety in trading. And so, yeah, essentially we see a lot of different types of competitors in the future. Obviously the centralized exchanges, than the current decentralized exchanges, as well as some exchanges that do try to use this batch auction model. And so this is kind of like we believe that, you know, we have the optimization on the user end as well as the batch auction model. And so we have strong beliefs over what we're doing that sets us apart. And obviously there are some trade-offs that we do take, but we think they're necessary for as much fairness as possible when trading on blockchains. And so this is our team. And so yeah, we have vast experience in finance and you know, working together, as well as lots and lots of interesting research that we've done over the past year, as well as work with you know, product developers like CalSwap. And so we're pretty excited about what we're working on. And at this moment, we're using the grant that we've gotten from the Aptos Foundation to continue developing on their blockchain, as well as integrate into their blockchain and their DeFi infrastructure. But we're currently open to, you know, exploring more blockchains, as well as having conversations with, you know, people who see fair ordering of transactions as a critical issue that we need to solve in DeFi. So, you know, happy to have those conversations, as well as, you know, I'm open to having more discussions about blockchains to explore.
Great, thank you, Div. Let's see. So leaving the DeFi segment, we are now moving on to our payments section. So payments, payments and payments infra. So this is one of the themes we're definitely most bullish on, especially in this part of the cycle through the bear market. While this was one of the first use cases imagined by Satoshi, it has been really slow to materialize, at least in real world use cases. However, I think we're likely at an inflection point as stablecoins, scalability, global liquidity, and general adoption and trust all combine to enable payments businesses and use cases that can generally outcompete traditional rails, especially across certain trade corridors and in certain markets. This is especially true in parts of the world where the banking and payment systems are less developed than the US or Eurozone. So with that, first up, we have FX Pay. Awesome team here, really excited to introduce Dimitri. They've got some really interesting early traction and great like in-market insights on trade between LATAM and the US. And also, interestingly enough, Dimitri was the Vice Minister of Finance in Colombia, which brings a lot of relevant experience to this venture. Dimitri, go for it. I think Kuhn just needs to.
Now, yeah.
There we go.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for the intro. Thank you to the SBA team for having us here, and for those who are attending this session. It has been a very productive and enriching process the last 6 months. We are FX. FX is a B2B cross-border payments company. We are focused on between US and Mexico corridor, which the growing trade and investment, it's a huge opportunity in terms of transactions and payments. FX, it's a solution, it's an account-to-account solution, but built on the blockchain using stablecoins. So let me show you a brief introduction or presentation of what we are doing. One, we have a UX, which is not only about sending money, but also tracking, sending, and controlling the payments, which is a key factor and key issue for businesses that are making international trade, and especially for small and medium-sized businesses. Large enterprise corporations already have a complex solution, but small and medium-sized companies require a simpler, faster, and cheaper way of sending and controlling their international payments. One of the very strong use cases in which we have found traction, it's in logistics. And what it's interesting, it's why logistics? Well, because in logistics, you require fast, small payments. In many industries, you usually have large tickets, 1 or 2 payments per month. But in logistics, you have many payments during the day and during the week. So the speed and the traceability of payments using blockchain, it's very important for this industry. And we're having a very interesting traction, growing 2x per month. We have been made already transactions for $2 million, and we are closing May with a volume of 1.2. That's our projection per month. How it works. So the user does not have to deal with a blockchain or stablecoin. It's an account to account, again, from a wire transfer in US to a wire transfer in Mexico, but we bring all the advantages of blockchain. What's the team? So my co-founder, it's a CES undergrad from Stanford. Santiago, he worked at Bitso, which is the largest exchange in Latin America. He has done some research on blockchain, and he's the CTO and has been working on the product. And more the business guy in the team. I have experience as trader of currencies in Citibank, so I know the space, the industry, and also I was Vice Minister of Finance and CEO of the Infrastructure Agency of Colombia, which also gives me a broad perspective of the regulatory challenges in dealing with payments in the financial system in Latin America. What's our ask? Well, we raised 1.2 pre-seed last year, and we are hoping to raise our seed after the summer. We still have runway, but we are planning for starting the fundraising in August, $4 million for our seed, and to in order to have the resources for a growth strategy on the logistics space. Do I have more time, or it's?
Yeah, you've got another 2 to 3 minutes if you need it.
Perfect. So that will allow me to make a short demo. So this is how FX looks like. This is the user experience for small and medium-sized business. They have a dashboard. It's a process of adding account to your wallet. So if you're in US, you do a wire transfer. If you're in Mexico, you do a local transfer, and we will receive that fiat and exchange it into USDC or USDT. You will have, or the business will have a real-time exchange rate. This is a great thing to have because especially small and medium-sized businesses, they have to call in Mexico and negotiate the exchange rate. So you have a real-time exchange rate that it's being updated each minute. And with this dashboard, you can send a payment, which is a very simple process, only with the email of the person. Once, if it's a contact that it's already added or it's a user of FX, only with the email you can send the money. Also, you choose how much dollars you want to send or how many Mexican pesos you want to be received on the other side. You can upload an invoice, send a concept, and send the money. And once the money is sent in Mexico, it takes less than 30 seconds to arrive into your bank account. Also, a very interesting feature that we really like is request payment, because this is very useful for SMEs, because you can send the invoice and ask for your customer or your vendor to pay your invoice using the platform, and we'll do the same process of using stable coins to do the cross-border payment. So this is it. We are super excited. Again, we're having a very interesting traction, and our goal, it's by the end of the year to have $12 million in transactions, which will give us an ARR of $2 million, and where we will be profitable by the end of the year.
Awesome. Thanks, Dimitri. Next up, we have Vincent and MimiPay. Vincent, amongst other things, is at the business school and a new dad and starting a company. This guy has a lot going on. I love it. Before this, Vincent ran a large OTC business and is still running it through the GSB. And I think he and his team through that have a lot of the experience and relationships necessary to get their business off the ground. So I'll let them tell you about what they're building. On to you, Vincent.
Cool, sounds great. Can you guys hear me? I also see my screen.
Looks good.
Cool. Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Gil and Quinn. So you guys been very helpful and for the last 6 months and provide great advice and also mentor for our team and also for the company. Thank you guys so much. And we are MimiPay. We are building a one-stop integrated global payment solution. And like Stephen mentioned, we have been doing OTC trading since 2016. We have customers globally, like across Asia, Latin America, and the US. So during the OTC trading, we have seen and got a lot of requests for traditional business. For example, like the global trade business, they are moving money from like country to country. And for example, like we have currently we are serving some clients for one like Chinese manufacturer. They are selling electronic products like keyboards, monitor to Latin America, in Brazil and Mexico. And it's hard for them to receive money back, collecting the local currency and sending money back to Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, or China. So currently the pain points we have seen in the industry. So they have so the traditional way, the Web3 solutions cost them like much more cost, like from 5% to 7%, and also take them longer. So we have seen some like competitors like MoonPay, Wire, and Simplex. They came into the place. So some like the customers starting using like crypto and especially stablecoin, Tether or USDC for moving their money around. So we still think, but the majority, the on-ramp for those like competitors, they are using credit card. And we think the best way and also the lowest cost is using the local banking transfers. And so currently we are serving some clients in Mexico and Brazil on a daily basis, still on the OTC side, but we are moving to the OTC, to our platform on the MimiPay. And so the advantage for us, like we're using bank transfer, for example, like in Brazil, we use PIX, and in Mexico, we use like as either SPP or SPA within the bank transfer. And also thanks to Dimitri, the prior team, he also introduced some resource to us in the Mexico market. And so given our experience in the last 5 years for trading like in different markets, so we know like the local people and also local banking and payment companies, and also from my side, also from my co-founder side. So we can do lower fees and also much quicker settlement within like 24 hours. And so the two use cases currently we are doing right now. So the one I mentioned earlier. So one manufacturer, Chinese company selling products in Brazil. So before they using us, they are just using the traditional banking transfer, and took them like almost 2 weeks for them to collecting the bill leading invoice and the contract sent back to the bank in China, and then convert like a local currency to like either CNY or USD to pay their vendors or like purchasing raw materials. And they're using, when we come in, we just help them to convert the local currency real to like USD, and then convert USDT to USD, send back to Singapore, Hong Kong, or China, and to pay their vendors. And another use case is for a gaming company, Chinese gaming company. They are doing like a slots machine and online in Brazil market. And before they're using other like solutions and cost them, like because other customers like majority using like credit card. And when we come in, we just provide the PIX in Brazil market. So they're also looking to expand to other markets. We also try to provide other solutions for them. And so our costs bring down their costs from like 5% to like less than 2.5%. So we can do the on-ramp, off-ramp within a day to them, like within 24 hours. So currently we are building our product, and we started building the product like last year, and so we still just need a few things and polish, and we'll then move all our volumes from currently we do like off the platform. So probably in the next 1 or 2 months we move on the volume OTC to our the MimiPay platform. So our vision is we want to offer the one-stop global payment solution for the clients like who do like global trades, and also for like probably companies who doing global business, for gaming companies, e-commerce, like trading companies who need both on-ramp and off-ramp demand. So we all know like the lot of things like a few years ago, people started using like crypto blockchain stablecoin to do the settlement. And we also strongly believe, so this is like a big market for the global payment settlement. We started from like Latin America. The reason is because we have a strong local connections in Brazil and also in Mexico, and also those two countries. So they also have their strong like people starting getting used to using like the new payment solution. Also the mobile apps also enable people starting using like PIX and also SDP for the local market. So a few competitors mentioned earlier. So MimiPay, Wire, Simplex. So majority of their transactions still do like credit card. We all know if you using credit card to buy crypto on those platforms, they charge you from like 3% to 5%, sometimes even higher to 7%. So currently we are just targeting credit card is not our best use case. We targeting using only bank transfer for now, like we try to lower the cost. And given the network we have in the past, also the liquidity providers we accumulate in the last 5 years, we can get the best price for like getting convert like USD to like a stable coin, then stable coin to other like currency. So so we, like I mentioned, I have been doing like OTC trading since 2016. So we have about $3 billion US volume every year in the last 4 or 5 years. And also my co-founder Bruce also show his background later. He have been doing like a traditional payment in Latin America, in India, also in South Asia for last 80 years. So we think we can leverage our traditional like experience in the past combined together to better serve our client. So here's the team. So I have been doing financial industry for the first 7-8 years. Worked for commercial bank, investment bank, P firm, and then I started Paradigm Capital, one of the largest OTC player in Asia and the US. And we have been trading with all the exchange and OTC liquidity providers in the US and also in Asia. So my co-founder Bruce, he worked in one of the largest also fintech company called OPay in like Africa and also in Southeast Asia, and he also bring the team like in India to work on one of the largest peer-to-peer lending platform called the Cashpin, and so he started also doing the payment transactions in the Latin America in the last 2 years. So and we also have Murilo, who is also our head of Latin America. He's a local, he's from Brazil, and he also have a lot of peers connections in the banking payment companies in Brazil. So for the roadmap, the team started from the Q1 2022, and our first product launched in the end of last year. We also have transactions on a daily basis right now. So we have like 2.5 million on the OTC set, like convert to local currency to stablecoin, and then move money from Brazil, Mexico to like Asia. And also for the gaming company, only need the on-ramp off-ramp. We have about also 2 million on a daily basis right now. And so we probably will launch our go-to-market to like other countries, expand to other countries, to Africa and also to South Asia later this year and also early next year. So we have our projections. Currently, have like 4 to 5 million per day US dollars on the daily basis right now, only in Brazil. So we expand to like Mexico probably in the next 2 months, and we also expecting another 2 to 3 million adding on top to the current like 4 to 5 million right now on the Brazil market. And so we are so in the since last year and also till now we are self-funding, and we haven't raised any capital yet. So probably toward this Q3 this year, we are targeting to raise 2 million for the seed round, and also we are also looking for partners, also customers who need our platform to do on-ramp off-ramp for the global like payment movement. Yeah, so that's our company, and thank you guys, and also thank you again, Gil, Steven, and Quinn for the help in the past 6 months.
Awesome, thank you so much, Vincent. Great, Morgan, can you put up your hand, and Kuhn, can you put Morgan up? So Morgan is solving a problem that I felt deeply while at Coinbase, especially at Coinbase Ventures, managing crypto permissioning and user access controls inside an enterprise that actually wants to control those things. So Morgan, have at it.
Okay, I'm trying to share my screen here. Give me just 1 second. Great, awesome. Cool. Hi, my name is Morgan. I am the founder of Fountain. We are building Okta for Web3. So crypto AUM is at all-time high, reaching 30 billion within a short 3 years. And this comes from the rapid adoptions from institutions. As of today, 58% of institutions have invested in crypto. And although these institutions are eager to capture new opportunities and have a path to do so, pretty straightforward in the TradFi side, they face enormous amount of complexities when interacting with DeFi. So for instance, to simply stake assets on DeFi, organizations need to move their assets from a custodian account to exchange, do a swap, and then move it to a wallet before they can interact with dApps. And this happened for both Web2 and Web3 companies. And all these companies are cautious and even fearful of having to manage these processes, specifically because they don't really have a technical expertise to manage all these toolings and make these high-stake transactions. Their security posture is disjointed from the existing system. And it's actually very hard to enforce compliance policies across all these different accounts. Web2 companies usually use these IAM solutions such as Okta to solve these problems. But interestingly, there's no solutions for Web3. So Fountain is solving these problems by focusing on Web3 first tech. Fountain's platform integrates with companies' custody, exchange, wallets, and dApps, and manage them all in one place. So the managers can now delegate wallet accounts to different employees without having to share the private keys. So employees now will be able to use existing SSO system to access different applications via Fountain and make transactions. So for example, employee A will be able to use Google to sign into his Fountain account and access into company's bigger wallet to be able to make transactions on OpenSea, while employee B is responsible for all transactions on Aave using all the other accounts. And by mapping employees' identities using SSO, Fountain provides an equivalent audit trail with existing compliance requirements. And with the policy engines that we have in place, users will be able to provision for user groups, employees from the same department with the same access level, being able to set limitations on transaction or domain access. We also have a continuous monitoring and alerting system to provide notifications to companies when we detect fraudulent transactions and security compromises. Lastly, now with the companies having all the accounts in one place, they will be able to customize workflow and further automate them. So for instance, organizations will be able to connect different wallets and applications together and periodically set up a staking process on a specific dApp. So I believe in the near future, all business will integrate with crypto in some shape or form. And Fountain's mission is to enable every single employee to have an account access to interact with Web3. We are currently still in stealth, and we have around 40 companies signed up on our waitlist waiting to try out the product. I studied computer science for my undergrad and master at MIT and earned my MBA at Stanford. I spent my entire prior career in the B2B space as a PM engineer and built my own B2B companies in the AI space, work as a VC before starting this company. We are going to kick off our C round next week, so we'd love to chat with interesting investors. And simultaneously, we are also hiring, and we also would love to talk to any companies who is interested in trying out this product. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Morgan. Super exciting. Yeah, definitely something that the people are going to need. Okay, so that's the end of our payment section, and we're moving on to dev tools and platform. So our next three teams fall into that category. I think everyone here who's been in Web3, we've seen fantastic progress and some great businesses in this category. It's certainly gotten easier to build, but at the same time, mass adoption of Web3 still requires way more abstraction and way more as a servicing of the space so that developers can really build at scale and quickly, and also just enterprises see recognizable products that still interface with Web3. So these next teams all have a key insight of a missing piece in this ecosystem and are building great products to address those needs. So first up, Krish, I assume you have your hand up and that Kuhn has identified you. So I will hand it over to Krish, who's building a wallet connector with inbuilt support for auth, identity management, and account abstraction. Take it away.
Hey everyone, I'm Krish here representing OXPass, and our mission is to bring frictionless UX to dApps. And we're starting off with the wallet connection experience. So developers today have one big need, and it is to serve users irrespective of their wallets and their crypto nativity. But that means they have to deal with multiple authentication methods, not just your traditional EOAs, but now the latest embedded TSS MPC wallets like Magic, Web3 Auth. Now they have to also keep up with smart wallets and account abstraction. So they have to be open to all these types of different authentication methods. On top of this, they also have to keep up with different standards, 1271, 4361, 6492. All of these are authentication standards. And finally, dApps today, especially the modern ones, want a complete picture of who the user is and be able to aggregate their identities. As you can imagine, doing this is a lot of work. It's time consuming, takes weeks to build, months to maintain, and still ends up providing outdated UX at the end of the day. What we do is provide a few lines of code and become the de facto wallet connector for dApps. We're basically taking RainbowKit, if you've heard of that, and it's RainbowKit on steroids, essentially. So the way it works is OXPass is an abstraction layer that sits on top of the wallet's authentication and identity providers, and combines all of them into a complete and secure onboarding flow for dApps. So that means we are essentially the Auth0 for Web3, but for dApps. And what does a login flow look like? So let's say you're an end user. If you have a wallet already, you can connect this. This is very similar to the Connect wallet flow today. But on top of this, we also integrate directly with embedded wallet providers and let developers just add their API keys. So we natively integrate with all different types of TSS and MPC embedded wallets as well. And finally, we let dApps capture user information, whether it's their Google, Twitter, email, and so on, just so they get a complete picture of who the user is and they're able to communicate with them. And finally, we handle authentication and session management natively. So developers can manage their users from just one place. One of the advantages of operating at this level is that we become a conduit to account abstraction. Post authentication, developers can choose to deploy smart contract wallets, embedded smart contract wallets that we'll soon support as well, and get access to a whole set of features like smart wallet authentication, password recovery, and gas sponsorships, and a lot more. And we intend to be a complement to all of the smart wallets and the different types of wallets and play well with them and help developers really build a holistic experience together with all of them. Early progress has been promising. Over the last 10 to 12 weeks, we've gotten some promising early feedback and about 2,700 NPM downloads. But having said that, we don't see ourselves again as just an auth and onboarding company. We see ourselves as a UX company. And that means serving not only the end user experience for dApps, but also helping them scale as we progress and as the industry itself progresses. Yeah, and Kian and I met about 7-8 years ago. We've been working on this problem for the last 7 to 8 months. And it came from a personal pain point that we faced. We built consumer dApps in the past and struggled building different authentication and UX flows ourselves. And currently we're looking for intros to any customers that will find this helpful. And also we're hiring a founding engineer. So please let me know if you're interested. Thank you.
Awesome, great question, thank you. Let's see, next up we have Irina from Cascade. So enterprise developers around the world depend on middleware to actually get things done and maintain systems. And so Irina and her co-founders have a deep expertise here and are going to walk us through it. Take it away, please.
Thank you for the intro, Stephen. And yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Hi, everyone. We are Cascade, a Web3 native integration middleware platform that empowers businesses to adopt Web3 technology with ease. Our platform helps to streamline all Web2 and Web3 integrations in one place and abstracts away the complexity of managing the backend. Web3 development is getting more complex as companies need to integrate both Web2 and Web3 components, requiring them to deal with multiple vendors and solution providers. In the beginning, companies usually start with implementing point-to-point integrations. Point-to-point architectures are rigid and as a result are costly to change and maintain. And when the companies reach certain level of complexity, they must adopt integration middleware infrastructure, either by building it in-house or by using some off-the-shelf third-party integration middleware tools. The companies don't want to take on the burden of managing integration infrastructure in-house. That's why in the traditional Web2 world, almost all of the companies choose to use third-party integration middleware tools. Web3 projects are already reaching the level of complexity, triggering the demand for integration platforms like Cascade. However, this layer is still underserved in Web3. That's why we decided to start Cascade, and Cascade is a Web3 native integration middleware platform that helps to orchestrate any endpoints such as smart contracts and APIs deployed across chains, clouds, and serverless. Our visual workflow builder helps companies to focus on business logic instead of managing the infrastructure and abstracts away the complexity of backend management. More than that, our platform provides end-to-end monitoring tools and tools for the entire lifecycle management of the project. Here is the real-world example of a use case that is already in the production and that showcases the power of Cascade. Bruce Brown Films, the film production company responsible for the Oscar-nominated film On Any Sunday and for the cult classics The Endless Summer, used Cascade to create NFT-powered event passes for token-gated events at the Dana Point Film Festival. These passes were tied to NFTs, which enabled tracking of the data. Apart from that, these passes provided event sponsors and partners with the capability to send airdrops and direct notifications to the mobile phones of the users. Here is the process flow that we'll show in our demo. It includes steps such as minting of NFTs, linking NFT IDs to passes, uploading passes to storage, and sending SMS and email notifications to the users. And here is the end user experience. The user scans the QR code on the Bruce Brown Films website. After that, the user enters personal information and downloads the pass. And on the next step, the user also receives SMS and email notifications. And here you can see a pass that is also tied to an NFT. And here is the flow that represents the business process created with Cascade. The customer adds and configures the different integration components that are coming from our library of 200 plus out of the box integration connectors. These components could be different APIs or different third-party vendors such as Twilio, Shopify, Stripe, etc. And also the user can add smart contracts either from the smart contract template library that is provided by Cascade that you can see here, or also integrate third-party smart contracts such as NFT contracts. And these smart contracts are deployed and managed with the help of Cascade. The main power of Cascade is that it provides a single platform that streamlines all your Web2 and Web3 integrations in one place and abstracts all of the complexity of managing the infrastructure, and also accelerates time to market. In the case of Bruce Brown Films, it would have taken them a team of 3 engineers and around 6 months to go from the idea to production, if they just wanted to build that in-house. But with Cascade, they were able to build everything from the idea stage to production in just a matter of 3 weeks, including the requirements gathering. Right now, we are mainly focused on customer loyalty, customer engagement, and token-gated commerce verticals, because that's where we are seeing strong demand from the customers. But we are a horizontal infrastructure platform, and we are industry agnostic. That's why we will expand to all of the other verticals in the near future. Our team has immense experience in this industry because our CTO, who also studied for his PhD at Stanford, has more than 20 years of experience in the integration middleware space. He worked as an architect and product manager at the companies such as BAE at Oracle, and he also co-authored a book on service-oriented architecture. We already raised a pre-seed round from Soma Capital, and right now we are raising a seed round, and we are also hiring. Thank you for your attention. And thank you so much to Gil and Steven and Kun for organizing everything. We are really grateful for this experience and are very excited about what's coming next. Thank you.
It's been our pleasure and so much fun. And yeah, the Endless Summer is not a cult classic. That is just a full-throated classic. Awesome. Thank you so much for the prezo. Let's see. Next up, we have Able and HyperEdge. So this is a gaming dev tool and platform. He'll explain it better, but we're also very excited about the gaming space. It's become very obvious like what parts of Web3 could really augment gaming, but we're just at this moment where it's like, oh, you can see where it needs to go, but we need tools like what HyperEdge is building to help us get there. So with that, I'll pass it over to Able.
Okay, nice. Can you guys see my screen? Oh,
If
yeah.
by your screen you mean a black one, yes.
Yeah, the HyperEdge Labs.
No, it's just blank, unfortunately. If you're in presentation mode, sometimes that breaks it.
Yeah, I was in. Let's try this. Can you see?
Yes, sir. Working.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Abel. I'm one of the co-founders of HyperEdge Labs, and we're an automation platform for games. So this all started, I was building a game studio on top of Roblox. We have 2 games, 20K monthly active users, 2 million sessions played, thriving community, and we were making revenue. However, we spent too much effort on backend plus Roblox and Apple each charged 30% fee on every in-app purchase, and it was too long and too expensive to launch our 3rd game. It flopped, and we have no time and resources left to pivot.
I'm Alex, I'm a co-founder and backend engineer at HyperEdge. So here we've used 2 ideas. First one is a productivity toolchain, which generates code for both game client and server. And this allows to speed up the development and improve the interaction of game designers and developers as well. And second one is a low-code managed smart contract constructor, which allows people without any blockchain background to use smart contracts in their applications.
So we wonder if we were the only ones having the problems with backend. So we talked to more than 100 developers from small studios to the biggest studios in the world. And we found 3 main problems. The first, infrastructure challenges. It's very expensive and consuming to maintain a good performance backend as it scales. And you can just not hope to throw your backend to an auto-scaling solution, say AWS, and expect it to do well because it will break. Second, backend development and integration takes to most people around 6 months, and gaming cycles tend to be 3 years. So companies spend a ton of resources on this. And third, there's very limited support and monetization for user-generated content, and users often lack tools in par with those developers have to be able to create content. And for gaming companies, it's really hard and labor-intensive to manage all this user-generated content. So HyperEdge is designed to solve these 3 core problems.
So firstly is backend automation engine. Here we provide a code generation for both game server and game client, and a scalable server infrastructure as well. Second layer is user-generated content and meta game tools layer. Here we allow players themselves to enrich the gaming experience. And the third layer is a guilds management layer. So here we transform traditional Web2 guilds into programmable DAOs. So here is a quick demo. Now we are logging in into our platform using a signature key. So here is a quick of our interface. Then we go and create some entities, game entities. They are represented both as smart contracts and as data structures on the end. So they are present both as Web2 and as Web3 entities. Here we create some static data. Here we create some request handlers for our game server. Define some fields. Basically, all entities which can be evolved in time are represented in ERC721. Here's a quick visualization of what we have. And all game items which are indistinguishable are represented as ERC1155. So now we download generated files to use them in Unity editor. So here we download the server SDK generated for this specific game using game entities definitions. And here we can show all generated code. So basically this includes both code for server and client. So now it's like a generated code look like. So now we are building server and we're starting it on the service side. Basically with game our core clone developed. So this is hide and seek games with server save data. Here he loses. Here he used some games to purchase heads. Head serves like a booster here. So basically, we have a game server which includes both generated code and can be extended by user-defined user logic, and includes some code for scalable server-side infrastructure as well. We have a backend automation. So backend automation also includes code generation and running the servers cloud side in scalable way. Then we have automatic synchronization of SQL backend to blockchain. So that means that developers won't have to learn new skill set to develop Web3 games. Basically, then can use the existing skill set, and the SQL game entities will be automatically synced to blockchain. So database rows will be converted on the fly to ERC-721 and ERC-1155 entities, and we have managed smart contracts. So game developers won't have to learn how to code in Solidity. Contracts will be deployed for them, and here also we provide a Unity SDK. So this is we have for now, and gray points are things we are currently building. So we are also working on dedicated app chains to make our Web3 gaming experience more scalable. Also, we are working on user-generated content infrastructure and guilds management as well. And as our final destination, we want to define a low-code tool for real-time multiplayer as well, which is not present in any existing solutions. So because now as well, so we will provide it in the same way like we do with a game server.
So the vision is to enable developers to go from a creative idea to a playable game in one day instead of 6 months or 3 years. And we believe that going in the future, developers will give initial state to the games, and it will be the communities who, with tools on par with developers, will take it from there and evolve the game. So in terms of our team, we have Alex, who you guys just met. He's a principal engineer at Huawei and work at RG Games and Intel. Then I'm a CS in business, work for Microsoft Accelerator. We also have Amrit, who is a PhD in human machine interface, and Andrew, who has experience working at trading firms, and he's also a CE major. And then we have 3 amazing developers, Long, Mark, and Wu, who are helping us. So in terms of our ask, we're opening our office. So if you're a company interested in trying Heartbridge, or you know someone that might be interested, definitely reach out to us. Here's my email. You can also sign up on our website, and we're starting to do partnerships. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Abo and Alex, for the awesome presentation. That being said, next we'll head to the section where we're gonna have some of the previous startup that we incubated from the previous cohort. As we mentioned before, all of the teams that we incubated before raised and also had made a decent progress. Some of them finished their next round, and some of them launched their tokens, and some others have significant traction in the market and actively racing the next round. So the next section will feature some of the members from the past cohorts. So the first one we have Click, that's doing an identity oracle, connecting Web 2 and Web 3. That being said, I'm going to promote Jaden to present.
Hey guys, thanks for the intro, KP. Let me see if I press present. Oh, hang on, sorry, looking for the slideshow button. Yeah, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Hi everyone, Jaden here. So I'm one of the co-founders of Click, and what we're building are identity oracles connecting Web 2 and Web 3. You guys might ask, what does that mean? What are identity oracles? Essentially, these are new primitives that we're pushing that aim to solve some major identity problems in crypto. So on the Web 3 front, what we see today is we still lack a credible user reputation and identity system on chain,
which means that, excuse me, which means that we aren't able to do a lot of simple things like Sybil resistance, as well as also doing a lot more sophisticated things that are possible in Web 2 today, like precise incentive distribution, targeted advertising, under collateralized lending, so on and so forth. And in Web 2, right, you have this major issue where most value creating activities that are done by users are actually captured by decentralized platforms and then monetized by the centralized platforms, right? This is a problem that Web3 and decentralization aims to solve, and yet we've made very little progress on that till today, right? And this is a major opportunity because if you're able to allow the users to capture data sovereignty, while proving the provenance of that data, then you can start to create these data monetization opportunities, right? Which creates a blue ocean. It's a new market. And then you guys might be thinking, but hey, haven't there been, 200 plus or even more, right? DID systems, on-chain reputation systems, credentialing systems built. How are you guys any different? So when we look at the current value flow today, most of the data is captured still and stored in some centralized form before it's being pushed on-chain, right? So what that means is what we really have in this space today is an issuer problem where we're not able to both prove the provenance of user data while maintaining their anonymity with their on-chain address in a meaningful way that still allows for consistent data throughput. Which is where I'm going to introduce our identity oracles. So a new primitive that focuses on bringing off-chain user behavior data and identity data into various decentralized vehicles. So you have all on the left, all your different data sources, right? Can be some arbitrary Web2 server. I'll give some examples later on. And you can also get information directly from the user browser. And then on the right, you have where you want this data to go, right? This can be DID systems, centralized ID systems, SBTs, action trigger contracts, so on and so forth, to create that usability on chain, right? And what sits between these two is essentially what we call identity oracles, or our oracle network, which allow you to pull this user data in a way that is, one, again, proving the provenance of the data, not allowing the user to forge the data on the front end, and two, still privacy preserving in the sense that the user's anonymity and confidentiality is protected when this data is being pushed on chain. We currently have two solutions that are being developed right now. We have the TE-based solutions, which are being advised on by Prof. Andrew Miller from UIUC, IC3, as well as the MPC-based oracles, which we are co-developing with Chainlink and currently advised by Prof. Fan Zhang from Yale. We'll dive more into their backgrounds later on, but these are essentially our two solutions. And you guys might think, okay, so you guys built these issuers. How does it come together? How is it useful for the space? So here we have our identity oracles. We have different data sources that we currently support, which a lot of them include social media platforms for social networks, content streaming platforms, content consumption platforms, GitHub, as well as KYC platforms like Jumio and Plaid. And then you can also have different on-chain data sets from indexers and any other arbitrary data source that you can imagine. Between us and kind of the product layer, we have our smart contracts, DID issuers, as well as our SDKs that allow our oracles to be more easily accessed. These essentially create endpoints for our oracles. And then we have our three products at the top, which I'll go into a little bit. So our first product is a tester, which is essentially an identity endpoint or a major issuer for L1s and L2s. We first launched on Optimism in January, and we've seen some decent traction so far. Have about 78,000 unique users, about 820,000 of 860,000 attestations created on Attestation Station were made through our issuers. We were the top DAU app for a week in February, as well as top 2 alongside Stargate in the last 2 weeks of May. And we've seen a lot of traction where we actually have users pay to make these attestations and make these claims about themselves, and we've generated over 65 ETH in revenue in just the last 2 weeks since launching what we call the OP Army program. And so some features and how our attestations are being used on chain is, first, you have these directional incentives, right? So the OP Army program is something we put together where we spotlight top DeFi protocols across Optimism, and every week the users are incentivized to try out the protocols and then write a review or a thread or post a meme about their user experience on Twitter, and they're actually able to claim attestations for the impressions and the traction generated by their tweets from trying out the different dApps. And so after launching this program, we've seen a lot of significant traction. Apart from that, we also have, reputation in Sybil and GameFi and DeFi. We're currently co-writing a governance co-proposal with Axiom in terms of being able to use identity-weighted governance for both Citizen House as well as Virtual PGF. And then you're also able to start to build this cross-chain identity stack, right, through OP. So we're also going to be building Mantle's entire identity backbone in the next coming 3 months. So that starts with the attesters and then combining that with on-chain data and then building the necessary kind of innovations and gamifications on top of that to keep the users engaged as Mantle bootstraps their growth. We're also scheduled to, we have received commitment for ecosystem support for 10 plus other chains. We're going to be launching officially on Polygon ID mainnet as a DID issuer as the first issuer for the DID, next week as well. Apart from that, we have the names that are listed here. Each are going to be more specific, having the use cases be catered more specific to, the growth metrics that each of these ecosystems are looking at, and the different, verticals of focus that each of these ecosystems are looking at. And apart from a tester, prior to a tester, we've actually launched a off-chain version of, being able to have users prove their user behaviors in a slightly more centralized way. That product is Provenance, which today has over 100 partners. About 30 plus of those partners are paying so far. And we also do some custom Oracle integrations where, these different oracles that I spoke about previously are being used by different brands, labels, artists to build up more custom NFT solutions. One of those brands includes Sony Music Entertainment. So we're working with them to launch their second NFT collection ever, first kind of official entrance into Web3 this year as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about the traction that we've gotten so far. Share a little bit about the team as well. So I'm currently the CMO, previously was the president of the Business School Club at NUS. Spent time building marketing campaigns for brands like McLaren, Porsche, Bentley, and then transitioned into also doing NFT marketing for a couple of projects in the space before started officially building Gleek. My co-founder, Kevin, he was a math and computer science student at Duke, was a student of Prof. Fan Zhang, who advises us. And then previously was also working at Jin Fund, which is the largest angel investment fund in China. And then Han, our CTO, got his master's as well as bachelor's in CS from Cambridge. Previously was a quant at Citibank and Brevin Howard for about 12 years. And prior to joining us was also a tech lead at another fintech startup. Supporting us, team of 17, mostly engineers, 14 of which are engineers or researchers with 10 plus years of experience, as well as photographers from institutions like Max Planck Institute, Tsinghua, so on and so forth. We also have, a suite of really amazing advisors like Prof. Fan Zhang that I mentioned, who was the lead author of Deco and Town Crier, if you guys are familiar with the research papers there, as well as Prof. Andrew Miller, who has been spending a lot of time in the TE space recently, as an known expert in the SGX space. Prof. Jed Simmons, who was the ex-head of global content relations at YouTube, as well as, Fawn and Lewis, who are very reputable writers, directors in the Hollywood space. Our investors, so previously, as KP mentioned, we did raise a seed round last year around May. And these are some of our investors, some of our angels. We were incubated by Stanford Blockchain, afterwards went on to be incubated by Alliance DAO between May and July. And that's when we officially kind of started building. That's pretty much all about us. We are currently having early conversations for potential Series A, but just, again, early conversations. We are also actively hiring, high quality researchers, cryptographers, to continue building our vision with us. So if this is a problem that interests you guys and you would like to solve, feel free to reach out to me either on Telegram or on email. But yeah, that's all from me, and thanks for the time today.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Jaden, for the presentation, and congrats on all the traction and accomplishments. Cool. So next we have Space ID, which is decentralized, censorship-resistant cross-chain naming service and Oracle, connecting people, assets, and dApps. That being said, I'm going to unmute or promote Casey from Space ID, so you can start presentation.
Oh, you can see my presentation, right?
Yep, we can see your screen.
Hi everyone, I'm Casey, BD manager at Space ID. So very excited to be here and coming back to the program. So we participated from the last cohort and here to present our project and also our progress from the past year. So starting off introducing how we started the project and what we're trying to solve. So our team is passionate about Web3 social and wanted to build a non-financial product. So when ENS came out, we love that how it allowed users to interact with a human readable name instead of their wallet addresses. So the domain name service really made it possible for us to envision a future where you can have more user-friendly experiences for Web3 apps, similar to Web2 applications. So we see the need for mass adoption, especially for socialify and gamify projects. While ENS is great, it's very expensive for mass adoption. So that's why we decided to build .bnb name service with cheaper gas fee and a huge community for the need for a domain name service solution. So we started off building .bnb name service, and our version 1.0 is a simple DApp where we allow users to register .bnb names. And we've been iterating our features and currently have built the following infrastructure with the following products. First being a one-stop Web3 domain and identity platform where you can manage all aspects for your Web3 domains. And the second, and we've also built a multi-chain name service, including .bnb for BNB chain and .arb for Arbitrum. And we've also aggregated .eth, which is ENS, into our ecosystem. And the second thing that we build is the Web3 name SDK and API. It's a one SDK solution that we build for all the DApps where if they integrate our SDK, they will become compatible with multiple name services. So it simplifies integration process and eliminates any compatibility issues. So now,
Casey, sorry for cutting off. Can you full screen, put the presentation full screen?
okay.
Probably slideshow.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a quick demo of what you can do with our DApp. Is it better this way?
I think so. If you are presenting the deck, it's probably better full screen the deck, but otherwise you can switch to a different screen for a demo.
Slideshow instead of going to our DApp. So first thing that you can do is discover all the desired name that you wish to register, and we've supported all three top-level domains, including .bnb, .arb, and .eth. So if you search Stanford, as you can see here, we also have the auto-suggesting feature and also have a quick check on the registration status for all the supported TLDs. You can also browse all the trending collections here. So the second thing that you can do is register. So you can easily register the domains, and also we support bulk registering as well, so make the process easier for people. And the third thing is that you can actually trade and offer any domains. So what we've essentially built is a marketplace specifically for Web3 domains. So we've also aggregated liquidity from other marketplaces such as OpenSea, ENS Vision, and Element. And last but not least, if you go to My Domains under your wallet, you can easily manage your renewal, record, and ownership at one portal. So for all the top-level domains that you own. So these are the 4 core features that we've built for our Space ID 2.0. And since our launch last year, we've achieved over 1 million domain registrations and over 800K unique holders. And we've successfully closed our seed round with Polychain and DAO5. And so for us to keep growing our community, we are building more integration partnerships where the apps and wallets integrate our SDK to support resolving those domain names. So currently we have over 100 integration partners, and that include over 20 wallets where users can actually use their domains to transfer funds. And we recently also launched a grant program, which is a long-term funding initiative where we sponsor developers who build and integrate on Space ID protocol. And we also launched our DAO, which will help our project become more transparent and more community-driven. And another important integration milestone that we achieved back in February is that we've integrated with BSC Scan. So now .bnb holders can interact with their .bnb domain with the Explorer to see their records and transaction history. So so this is our team. It's a little bit outdated. So we've grown from 9 people to 15 people. We are coming from a project background, including the technical side and also community building side. And we're very proud of what we achieved in the past year. So right now we're looking forward to more deeper partnerships with the apps and wallets, and also exploring other use cases with protocols such as on-chain credentials, a reputation system, etc., to keep growing within the DID ecosystem. So yeah, that's all about Space ID. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any suggestions or partnership interest with us.
Awesome. Thank you, Casey. Cool. Yeah, definitely very impressive accomplishment traction. Given that was really short time between we incubated Space ID and now, so quite impressive. That being said, so we have now the last team, and we know the Bitcoin ecosystem, the BRC20, the ordinals being pretty hot recently, and the last team, but definitely not the least, is actually pretty deep into the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's actually the leading creator platform for Bitcoin NFT. That being said, I'm gonna make Jamil presenter. So Jamil, can you raise your hand so I can see you? Cool. All right, the floor is yours, Jamil.
All right, thanks so much, Kun, and thanks so much for putting this on. Yeah, so as Kun mentioned, we're Gamma, the leading creator tools and infrastructure platform for digital assets on Bitcoin. We've been building in this space for a while with this basically thesis that there's a big opportunity for digital asset infrastructure, specifically non-fungible digital asset infrastructure and app layers on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's market cap is higher than that of Ethereum at $475 billion. But the digital asset and infrastructure layer on Bitcoin is actually relatively negligible compared to that of Ethereum. And of course, there's been this narrative over the past couple of years that really nobody wants to do anything with their Bitcoin aside from basically hold it or use it as digital gold. But I think the traction over the past few months has shown that actually, Bitcoin has a strong culture and high liquidity. Bitcoin NFTs have in the past sold at Sotheby's. This was one of the rare Pepes on Counterparty for over $3 million. But up until recently, there hasn't been an ideal solution for digital assets on Bitcoin. Bitcoin script, as you all know, in the UTXO model is pretty limited. There's no smart contracts, or at least in the way that we think about them on Ethereum or other smart contract-based chains, up until recently, and no real way of representing digital assets directly on L1. But this year, digital non-fungible assets have really come to Bitcoin and on the layer one. 5.5 million inscriptions. So this is like the ordinals momentum, if you've heard of that. But basically 5.5 million NFTs have been created in less than 3 months. That's over $100 million in secondary volume for both non-fungible and fungible assets. If you've heard of these BRC20 tokens, that includes that. And over $20 million have been paid to miners to basically get these inscriptions on chain. And big brands have come in too. So we saw DeGods be one of the first movers in the space, but we also saw Yuga and some other top brands also move into Bitcoin, realizing the potential for digital assets here. So inscriptions have gone from less than 1,000 to, actually this is an outdated slide from our previous pitch deck, 140,000 in 2 weeks. And then now it's at 5 million and just a couple months later. Yeah, 3 million plus, 5 million plus in 3 months. And we were among the first builders on Ordinals. We've been building in this space for a while on Bitcoin. So you can see in early January, when there were just fewer than 1,000 inscriptions, we started building and launching our creator tools. We launched our mainnet in early February, our service launch for the inscription tools, and quickly became the #1 service to create these ordinals from your computer by just dragging and dropping an image and pressing go. We're not new to building on Bitcoin. We were, before building on ordinals, we built on L2 on Stacks. We were a late entrant. We came in as the third marketplace with leading up to 97% market share over basically 15 months of execution. Where we are right now is we do continue to build this NFT marketplace and infrastructure on layer 2 on Bitcoin with Stacks. But we launched our no-code ordinal inscription service for native Bitcoin on L1. And we're continuing to build out this creator tool. So we launched collection mints, we launched Dutch auctions. I'll give a quick demo of that after the presentation. And so marketplace, creator tools, and API infrastructure. We power one of the top wallets for ordinals called Xverse. We power their backend. In terms of our business model, we take 10% from our primary sales on the Bitcoin network fees. So if it costs, the miners, if you're paying $50 to miners, we take a $5 cut in addition to that. This business model has generated us over $300,000 in service fee revenue, 5% of basically new image inscriptions on Bitcoin from any source. We have a bulk creation flow. And all while this is happening, the L2 momentum is increasing as well on Stacks with 35,000 unique wallets, surging user growth. We have, quite strong GMV growth as well, and tons of new wallets coming into both Bitcoin and Bitcoin layer 2s like Stacks. So it's me and my co-founder. I'm more on the technical side. My background more on ML, computer engineering, and my co-founder more on the marketing and media side. I'll quickly go into a quick demo of what we've got. So here's the general marketplace. You can see we have both the ordinals on L1 and Stacks on L2. Our creator tools, you can create an inscription just by clicking whether you want to make a test inscription. Continue, select which fee rate. If you set this one, it probably won't confirm for a while given the network congestion. Select which fee rate you want to pay. Select which Bitcoin address you want the ordinal or inscription to be sent to, and an email address. And it's really just as simple as that. So I can give like a quick demo of that. If I just copy this, agree to the terms of service, and then just pay an invoice, and then we'll automatically create that inscription for you and send it to your wallet. So it's really just making that step simple. Before Gamma, you basically had to sync a Bitcoin full node, run an indexer on top of it, and use all of these command line tools. The last thing I'll show also is some of our secondary mechanisms for sales, not only creating an inscription. So we partnered with Bitcoin Magazine. They're auctioning off some of their historic magazine covers. So they've listed a lot of them for sale on Gamma. They actually were quite early to inscribing these as well, but they only listed them for sale about last month, leading up to the Bitcoin, their conference in Miami next week. So you can really see like Bitcoin has become a home for, high value digital assets. There's a lot of excitement around them, and we're excited to continue building on the most decentralized, most secure layer of on Bitcoin. And thanks again, Kun, Gil, and everyone on the Stanford Blockchain Accelerator team for all the support so far.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jamil. Really appreciate your presentation, and damn impressed with how far you've come. This is awesome. I remember speaking to you a few months ago over the summer, and you've come a long way. With that, that's all the teams. Thank you all for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed listening to the teams. Really impressed with everything they've accomplished and the exhaustive amount of work that they've put into getting here. I also want to give a quick thank you to a bunch of people and share some contact information. So I will do that real quick. And that way, if you guys want to connect with anyone here, you can. Bear with me. Let me share my screen. So a quick thank you to Priyanka, president of the Stanford Blockchain Club, who has helped us tremendously, as well as Kaido, Jay, Dominic, Khaled, Race, Ricky, Elvis, Jay Young, Rusheng, Jeff, Poen, Dev, Ramon, and Abdul Rashid. They've been critical in supporting us in the operations in these last few months. And if you want to contact myself, Kun, or Steven, our contact information is here. I'll leave it up for a minute. You can reach out on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on email. And again, cohort 4 is due, applications are due June 1st. We encourage you to apply. You've seen the great things that the Stanford community can build. Come join us. And thanks again, and hope you guys have a wonderful night. All right.